Welcome to the show. My name is Steve DeMasco. I'm the Grand Master of Steve DeMasco Shaolin Studios and founder of the Strength and Honor Foundation. First, I want to thank everybody for the overwhelming response that I got on a post that I made on Facebook explaining why I've been on Facebook for about 3 years, and they've seen about a half a dozen posts in 3 years, and now I'm being inundated, or I'm inundating Facebook with posts about different things. So, and I explained why I'm doing that because I was very uncomfortable with it, and I actually have somebody doing it for me. I don't do it myself. So if anybody's interested, you can go on Facebook and friend me, and it's just my name, and find out why that's happening. But the people that have responded, and a lot have, I just again want to thank you for it really is overwhelming. You don't know how people really think of you until you read some of the things they've been writing, and it was really, really nice, and I want to thank everybody for that. The other thing I want to talk about today is I'm back on the gun issue, and I'll tell you why. Recently, there were two shooting situations, two active shooting situations, and one was in I think in the Midwest or Texas. I can't remember exactly where that one was, but it was either in the Midwest, I think. Anyway, it's a place where it's a state where they're pro-gun, and the police are pro-guns, of people having, being able to protect themselves. And there was an active shooter in a public location, and the shooter, the citizen that was licensed and carried a firearm, used it, and he was depicted as a hero for saving not only himself but everybody around him. And then this week, was it this week or last week? Last week there was a shooting in Connecticut, another public place. A robber came in with a gun in his hand, threatening to shoot people, from what I read. And I've read several of them. I don't just read one news feed, because I try to get a balance, because they differ from station to station. So he used this guy. He was 61 years old. He was threatening to shoot people. He was going to rob them. And this 61-year-old man with a registered legal weapon pulled his weapon, shot the guy. It was a fatal shooting. The police came to the scene. They took his weapon. No arrests have been made, but the last thing I read was it was being handled as a homicide. So again, that's a very different state than the first one that I was talking about, and it's a very liberal state, and you got a very powerful senator there, Blumenthal, who is very anti-gun. I've spoken to him personally about that. And I gave him my suggestions on that. From what he tells me, that he's not totally anti-gun, but he believes in certain things like background checks and things that if it really did happen to the levels that he was talking about, and strictly those levels, it wasn't unreasonable. And I told him, I said, the problem is, Senator, is that, everybody's crying. Every time there's a shooting, there's all this media comes out, and all these powerful politicians come out and cry, take everybody's guns away. And people don't really know what it is that you guys really want. I mean, and they're afraid that if they do give in to some of the requests, reasonable requests, mind you, that you're asking for, that it's just going to escalate from there, and they feel that that's the first step towards infringing on their Second Amendment rights. So I had suggested, like ISIS does, the terrorist group does so much media, social media, advertising and propaganda, that they should do the same thing and use the social media to really get the message out of what it is that you really want, what the politicians really want, as opposed to taking everybody's gun rights away and infringing on the Second Amendment. And maybe public opinion might change. So again, it's a very liberal state. I'm going to watch very closely on see if the Attorney General decides to prosecute this guy, which would be a shame. And I want to talk about that for a second too. Okay, I have told you in previous shows that if you're going to have a weapon, that it's so important to be able to know how to use that weapon and be somewhat accurate with it if you can. Now, I know one of the things they're going to be looking at is, why did he fatally shoot the guy? Because the other guy hadn't shot anybody at this point yet. So he pulls his weapon, he fatally shoots the other person, and I know they're going to ask him, and one of the deciding factors of why he didn't shoot just to injure the guy and stop the robbery or the potential shooting. My response to that is, and I wasn't there, so a lot of different circumstances, a lot of different things happen in those moments, okay? But my response to that is, I mean, should the guy have waited until he did shoot somebody to fatally shoot this other person? So again, I mean, that's my initial thoughts, not knowing exactly what the details are. The law enforcement is investigating and talking to all the people there. The people at that point of what I read yesterday was that they said the guy basically saved their life. And that's what they felt. And the other guy came in, the perp came in and waved this gun around and threatened to shoot and was going to rob people. So again, you're in a very liberal state there that has a totally different mindset on active shooters. One of the reasons why, I can carry in 40 states, and I'm so reluctant to do that, because you are guilty, I told you, in this country until proven innocent. They took his weapon, which is not unreasonable, because they're probably going to just check out the ballistic situation with the gun, make sure they match. But and it wasn't a different shooter that did it. But it's, again, I mean, in different states, they have different ideals on protecting themselves, even though the laws are pretty clear. I wanted to show you this. I'm not promoting this company, but I looked at a few companies. The NRA has this insurance. This was $100 a year and $150 a year. It's called CCW Safe. Don't mention my name. This is not a promotion for me to make any money. This is what I have for my family. And here's the 800 number on the card, if you can see that, okay? It's called CCW Safe, official membership card. They say that if they tell you what to do, if you should have to use your weapon, and they cover your bills. And I told you before, they cover the attorney fees. And they have a lot of attorneys on board. This company was started by ex-police officers, law enforcement officers, that originally started the company, because I looked into the history. I actually spoke to them before I signed on. Actually started the company for ex-policemen, retired police officers, because they can still carry their weapons after so many years. They can still carry in the United States, and it was to protect them. And then eventually it just got to people. The requests were overwhelming, and now they're national. I don't know how many thousands of people, but for $150 for your family, $100 for you, I felt it was a great opportunity to have another layer of protection. So if you have a handgun or any type of weapon in your home or on your body, you should definitely have this insurance, because they claim that they will, and you can talk to them. They claim that they will pay for the attorney fees. And as I said to you, one of the criteria for being an NRA instructor was I had to sit with a criminal attorney that does nothing but defend these kind of cases. And she said, innocent or not, you're going to spend $250,000 defending yourself if you have to use your weapon, especially fatal, in a fatal shooting. So that's just to help you people. I'm going to do some handgun techniques today, and we'll talk about that in a little while. The next thing I want to talk about is I really can't express enough how important it is that you learn to defend yourself. And, against another weapon, I'll show you how that works in a little while. Again, from a distance, there's not much you can do with a handgun. On a close distance, it has a lot to do with your timing and reaction to that weapon. At a close distance, I would prefer to, if I had to defend myself against a knife or a handgun, I would prefer to do it against a handgun, because I just have to move that little circle out of the way. And there are two things that will happen when somebody has a knife there. When you go for it, you have to be incredibly accurate. The handgun is an extension of the hand, so you have not only the hand but the barrel, the entire handgun, to be able to grab it. So you don't have to be so much of a technician in order to put your hands on it. The timing is essential, and not telegraphing is essential. The knife, if you go for a knife, the person's either going to go in or he's going to pull out. And if you're not exactly on his hand, you're going to get severed. So on a close distance, I would much prefer to defend myself with somebody holding a handgun on me than a knife. So I'm gonna explain a little bit more about that when I show you the handgun techniques that we're going to show you today with Jeff. The other thing I want to talk about is why do I stress this self-defense thing? Okay, you know, it's really hard. And again, you know, I don't like self-promoting, you know, and I own martial arts schools in 4 different states and one right here in Keene. And, you know, it's like, sounds like I'm trying to get business, but, you know, I can't tell you. You know, I did a self-defense course in Keene, the Keene College last year. There were over, I think, over 100 women in that. It was free. I did it for free. And I get a lot of money to do seminars. And I did a free self-defense course, self-awareness course, because I don't believe in self-defense courses. And I gave some very, very powerful lectures to these women. I gave them examples. I told them about other women. I told them about things that I've had to deal with women. As a counselor, I've counseled women on women that have been violated, sexually violated. I told them all of that, and we had a lot of fun afterwards. They were kicking some bags, and they were laughing and joking. But I lectured, probably it was at least 2 hours, and I lectured almost an hour. And they were like mesmerized. I mean, it's like, I'm not promoting myself again. I'm just saying they were very into it. And for college kids, that was great. And I offered them a great opportunity financially to sign up after school after everything I said to them. And you know about the drugs that they slip into women's drinks and how prevalent that is and all the things I gave them. I mean, it was graphic. And not one woman, after all of that, came to my studio or any studio that I know of and took lessons, which I just found just really unbelievable. And I can't begin to tell you over the years how many mothers have come to me just before their daughter's going to go to college, and I'm not kidding, and said, can I get them into school for a lesson or a couple of weeks or a month, and to give them some, self-defense lessons before they go off to college. Well, you know, that's a little late, okay, because I told you this before, there are no 30-day wonders in the martial arts. There's no way that under stress, under physical restraint, on the traumatic stress that anybody, man or woman, if the perpetrator is big and strong, is going to be able to use this to defend themselves. I said we would give them an awareness course on what to do and what not to do, walking alone. I can't, even here in Keene, I mean, I was talking to a girl that worked at a gym a few years ago, and a guy, she was coming from a party. She's 18 years old, beautiful little girl, and a guy in his 60s attacked her. And the only reason she got away is because her girlfriend, thank God, came out after that and yelled when she saw it. And she hadn't come out of the party, out of the house. She's walking alone down the street at 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, these are the kind of things we can tell them about. But again, there's nothing we can teach them in 30 days that if a guy comes on you, attacks you, that you'll be able to use this. It doesn't work like that. You know, and I even told them about my 18-year-old sister in Brockton that got attacked, and she had been studying for 6 months, and she was 98 pounds, soaking wet, aerobics instructor, 18 years old, was coming out of work late at night in the parking lot, got attacked, and knocked a guy out. And she had been studying for 6 months. So, I mean, I gave them all this information. You know, I grew up in a very violent home, and, and I saw things that most kids should never have to see with my mother and myself, and I'm very, very protective of especially women because of the things that I've had to endure and see myself growing up as a little boy. So this is real. What I'm telling you is absolutely real. And people are angry today too. They're just so angry. I've just even driving around here, I mean, I am a terrible driver. I know that. And I just assume when people honk at me that it's automatically my fault. I don't even know what I did. I'll wave, say sorry, because I'm just assuming it's my fault. But I see people on simple little things today, and not just a couple, a lot, that are people that are very, very angry. And, you know, I understand there's a lot of stress out there today. There's a lot of financial stress. The world is a mess, as we know, and we don't know where we stand. I don't even want to get political, but you know what's going on with terrorism today, and I'm very involved with that, with the agencies that I'm involved with the FBI, and you know, it's just a very, very different world today, And people, whether they consciously think of it, it's on their mind. But I just see people all over the country, and I travel all over, that are just more angry than they ever used to be. And there's so much more violence. So again, somehow we need to figure that out and figure out what we're going to do about that in terms of protecting ourselves and our family. And then, I pick up I'm reading, how much time do I got? 12 minutes. I'm picking up I read the news feeds, and I read, I do my news online, and I read about this head. I didn't even know there was a leader. Well, I did kind of know. There's a leader for Black Lives Matter. And just to show you where people are mentally, they hired him to come in and speak at Yale University. I keynoted at Yale University. I'll never go back to that college now, okay? They hired this guy. Now, this has nothing to do with color. If you know anything about me, I grew up in the projects. All of my friends were black and African American. In fact, I was the only white boy in a school of 7,000 kids, and 70% of them were black and Hispanic. I was the only white boy in the African American club, okay? I lived with a black family when I moved out of my house at 15 who took care of me. So this is not about race. Not about race. And if anybody knows about the projects, okay, there's not about prejudice in the projects. They don't care what color you are. It's about survival. They didn't care whether I was white, black, Hispanic. They didn't care. If you hurt them or your family, then you're going to get hurt. So life in the projects is not about race. It's about survival. So I just wanted to put that out there. But this guy gets up on stage and he advocates the physical violence and the shootings, killings of innocent people, okay, as martyrs, as collateral damage, as martyrs to prove a point that Black Lives Matter. I mean, I just can't believe that this stuff is going on and accepted in this country today. 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, this would have never been happened. And one of the top universities in the country hire this guy to talk about stuff like that. This world is very different. I know I sound like the man of gloom, and I'm not. I'm really not. I don't live like that. I don't walk around like that, thinking, oh my God, something's going to happen to me. But I will tell you what I do. I work out 5 days a week. I have been studying martial arts for 45 years because the timing, you might not be able to have a weapon on you, but if you do, it's not just about a matter of shooting that weapon or defending yourself, okay? Because the first thing they're going to ask you is, did you have reasonable cause to take somebody's life? And was your life in danger? And by the way, they tell you what to say if that should happen. If you join this CCW, they say, my life was in danger, and you call them, and then they come in. But anyway, there's just so much anger out there today. So, we got to stop, not put our heads in the sand, and we got to protect ourselves. And, your ability to react, your ability to stay focused under traumatic stress, and that's the key. Like, I can show somebody how to do something, and I've actually got them to do it. I've actually got them to hold a weapon to their head, somebody holding a weapon. I did it with an FBI agent, and he never studied before in his life. And he was able to pull that gun away before the guy pulled the real trigger. I mean, obviously, there was no ammunition in it, and we do this in real training, with law enforcement, but we clear the gun 3 times. We do all the proper things. But anyway, he was able to do it. But again, and it took a few times because it didn't work for him the first 3 times. But I got him to do it. But he had to focus and concentrate so much about not telegraphing, not moving his body. Because as soon as you move your body, anytime you go to move your arm or your legs, your body moves. And it's too late at that point. So your ability to be able to, 1, focus and keep your head together and stay concentrated on the issue under traumatic stress is one of the benefits of training with us, okay? Also, the ability to be able to disarm somebody if you have to. Also, if you're going to use that weapon, how quickly can you get that out? How quickly can you react to the situation before you get hurt or somebody else gets hurt? So all of these things are very, very important. And I just brought up the Yale thing, and again, I was just having grown up the way that I did, and even in my book, The Shaolin Way, I credit Dennis Burton for saving my life many times from getting beaten up, and things like that. Who was a black man, and I lived in his house. I mean, so again, it almost gives me a little bit of anxiety to even have to talk about this stuff, but to know that Yale University hired this guy to get up on stage and have them say the things that he did was just an abomination. It goes against every grain that I have in my body and a lot of people. I mean, what good is that going to do? It just promotes more violence, you know. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. I hope I didn't offend anybody because it's never my intentions. You know, I give a lot of thought to what I say before I come on the show, so that it's here to give information and to help people, and that's strictly why I do this show. I'm going to bring Jeff up now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the gun. I got about 6 minutes. Thank you. Okay, you want to get that...